Jenny, thanks for joining us. We always start with a brief introduction of yourself, the business that you're in right now, and then we'll take it from there.
Great. So I'm Jenny Knighting. I'm founder and CEO of Nutcracker Agency, which is a boutique marketing agency which offers kind of full service marketing support for ambitious businesses that are looking to get more market share or realign their brand or increase their profile.
And we always start with a bit of a look at the journey that you've had in your career. So could you just take us back as far as you want, um, and
Okay.
yeah, take us to sort of your career and then up to founding the business and reasons behind that, and we'll go into that.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess I've always loved people and talking to people and behaviours in people. I've always found that really, really interesting. Even from, the age of 15, 16, and getting that part-time job through, while I was studying, working through university and then getting my first career job, if you like. I always found talking to people and I guess, getting people to buy things really interesting. So I started out my career in sales, very much in media sales, looking at exhibitions, events, top level kind of business events. And I did work for a couple of different businesses through my main part of my 20s, and then was approached by two ex-colleagues to do a startup events business, which I did. And that was when I probably guess my career took a big fork in the road because we're working on a launch telecom event. It was back in the day when it was talking about messaging and whether text messages would last. So a lot of people might not be able to fathom that, but that was the kind of the topic of the event. And the commercial lineup was amazing. It was, Orange, what it was at the time, IBM, Microsoft, all these companies didn't do launch events, and they all committed, which was incredible. Spent a lot of money, and I promised them this audience, and then the day came, and the audience didn't appear. And it was devastating. And in that moment, I realised that for me to be truly, truly good commercially, I needed to be really, really good at marketing. And that's where I guess my passion for marketing kicked in. And then my career took a different path where I became a sales and marketing director and really made it my mission to be the best possible marketeer I could be. Linking it all the way back to constantly linking it back to behaviour and why people buy, and really approaching marketing from a commercial angle. So after I did that launch event, I then went to work for a events business, and then a digital newspaper, and then founded Nutcracker 11 years ago. So worked for several businesses. I guess what all the businesses I worked for had in common was they were ambitious businesses. I was always passionate about what I was working on. The people I worked for didn't really have any bad jobs, if you like. Like I always loved what I was doing. And in the last role I had before I founded Nutcracker, I was running a series of roundtables for entrepreneurs and working with brands that targeted entrepreneurs. So I was very privileged to sit in a room with people that have built businesses and scaled businesses for between 10 and 70 million and kind of really hearing their pain points and their journeys. And I guess it reinforced to me that desire I'd always had, which was to have my own business and how to go about it, which I dipped my toe in my 20s, without the success I really wanted. So yeah, I didn't really mention any company names or anything, but that was a roundabout. So effectively, started off in sales. Loved difficult propositions. Got bored if it was easy in order taking. Was one of those rare people that genuinely love new business. So I loved picking the phone up. I loved meeting fresh people, and then really enjoyed combining that with that real lead generation. So I guess it was the baton before the bashing the phones. It was really that getting those leads to call. So yeah, I loved that stage of the funnel. I think once people are bought in, I lose a bit of interest, because I love getting people bought into a brand back in my career. Now, of course, I love all of it. I love that longevity and that lifetime value of customers as well, and that full journey. So yeah, it's a sales and marketing professional, I guess, before I became CEO of Nutcracker.
Very good. And then the founding of Nutcracker, is that more of a, you said a desire to always be a business owner, or is it more of that, or is it more that you spotted something missing in the market, or is it a mixture of both, or is it something completely different?
Yeah, I think it wasn't on my mind so much being a business owner because I'd had milestones in my career I wanted to achieve before founding Nutcracker, and I guess I'd always achieved them. I'd set myself goals linked to age, if you like. I was like, by this age, I want to have done this. So it wasn't so much I wanted to own my own business. I think it was a accumulation of several things that took place. It was seeing and working with agencies at the time that I felt weren't putting their clients at the heart of what they were doing and
Yeah.
servicing them in the right way. I was noticing that marketing was really disjointed and it wasn't joined up with multiple agencies involved or just different skill sets, not quite understanding how the customer journey has changed. And it was also working in a business where I just wanted to create an environment where people really loved coming to work and felt valued and had career paths and were respected. So it was a whole combination of different aspects and made me want to start Nutcracker. And then I had a day where, one of those sliding door days where a number of things didn't quite work out how I envisaged. And I just thought, you know what, I can do it better. I can do it better than this. I'm just going to start my own business. So yeah, it wasn't as well thought out as you might think.
So the early days, you mention like wanting to create a place where people like love working for. What do the early days look like in terms of, is it just you in the business? What services are you providing and who are you providing
Yeah.
them for?
So when I founded the business, I decided to found it with a team of people, the best people I'd worked with over the previous, 18 years or so, who could offer the services as and when I needed them. So I started off just with me and my fantastic head of content for a year, Rebecca Hobson, who was with me for a year. She committed to a year, but she was doing it very much not as a full-time job, as part of being part of the founding team. So I can't say it was ever me, because if Rebecca was listening to that, she'd be like, it really wasn't, I was there too. And then very quickly, after about 10 months, decided that I really needed to employ some people. And that's when Charlotte joined, who's still with the business today, joined as head of content and then worked with another couple of other professionals who also joined, along with my now head of design, Jen, who joined the business in the early days as well. So Nutcracker always offered an agnostic service. Like, I wanted to find out what pain points businesses had and then offer that service. So I guess the business built organically around being able to truly offer the very best. So if somebody needed to build a community online, then I made sure we had a really excellent social media specialist. If someone needed to tell a story, then I made sure we had a really, really good storyteller. So I guess the business built around the demand and the expertise that was needed, which was brilliant, because it means that Nutcracker's always been able to offer that really boutique full service offering to make sure that people are really getting the marketing they need to attract new businesses and win market share.
Yeah, and that's that's interesting because most people start the opposite and think, I want to do this service for these people, and they definitely want it because I know they want it, rather than let me speak to a business first and see what they need, and then we'll mold our services around that, which I think is the way business eventually goes.
Well, I think it's important because it's not just saying what a business should buy, it's really
Yeah,
understanding it. I mean, Nutcracker's always it's never been just me. Like, Nutcracker's always had a team of people that I've employed and have been part of it. And I think for me, my passion is for my clients in terms of what is it they're really trying to achieve, and then making sure we then deliver what they need. Nutcracker's obviously a lot bigger now. It's got a department of copywriters, it's got designers, it's got, it's bigger. But in the early days, it was very much around making sure that we genuinely made a difference. We didn't just work with businesses and say we're different. We actually demonstrated it, and that was through approaching commercial marketing differently, which we did. I think one of the proudest moments was when we were shortlisted for the National Business Awards when the business was only 2.5 years old. It felt we were standing there amongst these incredible businesses that had done breakthroughs in science, and we were just a marketing agency. So it felt really good to be able to really say, look, we really are different. And that's why we're shortlisted as like best new business for the UK. So yeah, some good stuff in the early days.
very good. And the a lot of people find the transition. So if they go from working inside of a business to then running their own, they find that they want to create a good place for people to work. But then you realise that you have to also have high standards and to deliver the work as well. Did you struggle with anything on like I don't want to go like managing employees when you first stepped into that?
Yeah, I think I did. I think I found it easier when I wasn't the owner to manage people. I think I felt very grateful in the early days that people were working with me on my dream. And I think I became far too nice, which meant that I found it hard to have difficult conversations. And I think I definitely learned the hard way to have those difficult conversations as soon as they arose rather than putting them off. So yeah, I think it's difficult when it is your business because you feel everything is so personal to you that you almost remove that necessary layer of objectivity, if you like. So yeah, I definitely think it was tough. I mean, I've managed a lot of people in my career before I founded Nutcracker and found that side of my job, always really enjoyed it, and I definitely found it tougher when the buck stopped with me for sure. And learned some difficult lessons along the way on how to be a better people manager. I mean, it's always been important to Nutcracker, and we use a brilliant software called OpenBlend, which is a people management software, and that enables people to track their blends and what motivates them, and also enables them to have career paths. And one of the reasons we have that software is it enables difficult conversations. So a lot of managers of people have got no real experience or training in it. They're just there because that's the stage their career's at. And actually, it's hard to manage people. It's really hard to have those tough conversations and get to know someone and read their emotions and read why they're reacting the way they do. So yeah, it's definitely something I've worked hard at over the last 11 years. And of course, we all continue to make mistakes, but it's really, I think, about treating people with integrity and how you'd like to be treated yourself. And you can't get it right every time, but if you try and get it right as best you possibly can, then it's normally a good outcome. And I guess it was a big privilege to have been short. Well, we were on the Sunday Times Best Place to Work for Small Business last year, part of the great places to work in the UK. Just been shortlisted for Breakthrough Culture Awards. So culture is like a really big part of what Nutcracker is. It's a people first organisation, and values are really at the heart of all we do. So yeah, difficult journey, but only because I want us to get it right. I want to make sure that we're really having those tough conversations and making sure we're really treating people how we want to be treated.
Does that? I guess there's a big difference in like how you recruit now, then, from those lessons that you've learned and the process that you go through, because it is like
Yeah.
the number one struggle that I've had, that people have said so far when I've spoken to them, is the managing people and getting that balance between running a successful business and being a nice person.
Yeah, it's tough, and if you get it wrong, often that can wipe out 200 nice things you've done, because people aren't very forgiving when you're the boss. So I think it's a tough journey to learn, and it's tough to get that necessary harder skin. Like I've always been too sensitive and too soppy and cared too much, and I think there is a balance in that. You do need to have a bit of a buffer, or it can be quite painful because, of course, people don't feel the same about you. Because why would they? You're just an employer. Whereas, of course, when it's your baby and you're employing people, I certainly felt, a real emotional connection to these people that I really wanted to, look after them. And I definitely feel I've got more of a balance now where I still care about people, but it's probably a bit less intense.
You mentioned off camera that you've had like quite nice, consistent growth throughout the 11 years that you've been on. What's that mostly come from? Has it been like your network and referrals, or have you had like have you done much outbound, or yeah, what's been the number one driver of growth in the business?
So I think it's a mixture of three different avenues. I think the first has come obviously from referrals and personal network. That's always been good. I think the second, the National Business School was quite a pivotal moment for Nutcracker. We met two fantastic people there. One of them was the co-founder of a brilliant data consultancy called Comma at the time. That was a brilliant relationship for us, and that led on to an awful lot of business. Also met a guy called David Higgins at that event, and he again introduced us to some really brilliant businesses, who then introduced us to more brilliant businesses. So the National Business Awards was really good in the early days to meet like-minded people and like-minded businesses. And then subsequently, email marketing has always been good for us. We've always met some really good people through email marketing. So yeah, I'd say those three channels, personal network or referrals or awards events, or email marketing, have been the main drivers of leads.
You also mentioned off camera that the last year has been like really pivotal in where the business goes next, and you said that you've sort of pulled it all apart and put it back together.
Yeah.
Do you just want to tell us what that process was or still is, and like what's come out of it?
Yeah, sure. So I think I'm not saying Nutcracker was easy because I don't think any business owner would believe me if I said it was easy and it's grown year on year. I think they'd soon raise their eyebrows and think, really? But it was relatively easy. You know, we had some great people working at Nutcracker, had some great clients, had year on year growth. There's been lots of elements of the business that just came together. And then I'd say last year was probably the toughest year Nutcracker's had. It had a lot of forces externally affecting it in one way or another, which I allowed to affect it. Also, always had to kind of, I guess, similar team. Different people come and go, but the umbrella team has always been the same. And a couple of those long-standing team members left, which was quite right in their careers. They'd been there a long time. They were young. You know, it was quite a natural time for them to move on, but it still changed the dynamic, the DNA of the business. And I think also it got to 10 years and I thought, right, we've done 10 years. What is next? What do I really want to get out of the next period of time? And it really made me scrutinise where the business was at and perhaps where, without me realising, certain parts needed to be stronger. Um, and I think I'd kind of got to the stage where I was self reflecting, made some mistakes in terms of allowing our culture to be challenged a little bit, and I hadn't really noticed it was being challenged. And then had a couple of, recruits didn't quite work out, and a whole host of things were making me feel a little bit uneasy and just starting to feel a bit like not that I was losing control, but that where was I really taking this business? And I think I was at a stage where because I'm the sole shareholder, sole owner, it can be lonely, it can be difficult because you've not got somebody to kind of go, look, what are we doing? You know, where are we going? Of course, there's great people on the team, and certainly my general manager is a fantastic sounding board, and so are other people on the team. But it certainly was a difficult time for me. And then I've met Jamie Waller at the National Business Awards. Don't know if you've come across Jamie, but he's an amazing entrepreneur who sold his business for a lot of money, but wrote a very interesting book called Unsexy Businesses. And when I met him back all those years ago, I said, "What was the one thing you did that made a difference to your business?" And he mentioned the business growth program at Cranfield University. And when I was sitting there feeling just really kind of, it's probably the lowest I felt about my business last year was probably I was really feeling like it was tough. It was really tough from all angles. I felt like I've got to do something different, and I just signed up to the Cranfield Business Growth Program, which is a very intensive program, really unpacking your business and then putting it back together and writing a comprehensive 3 year plan. And I'd say that was compounded a tough time for me because in September I was then looking at the business, and of course, when it is you can't blame anyone else. If you've inherited the business or you've come in, you can go, well, they were bloody stupid, but you can't. You just kind of go, well, that was my decision. That was a good one, wasn't it? But the good thing about it was it meant that I really overhauled the business and looked at it. So we then looked at our recruitment process and overhauled it completely. So the people that have joined the businesses off the back of that have been just in a different calibre, you know. So there was lots and lots of good stuff that came out of this course, including overhauling our processes and getting those smarter, really looking at our values and then rolling out our values programme. So I'd say that program was pretty transformative, quite painful in places, but hugely motivating because I think it enabled me to really crystallize and think, right, what does the next stage of growth look like and what is truly motivating? And then, of course, at Nutcracker, it's all about the team. You know, there is no Nutcracker without the team. So then unveiling that 3 year plan to the team, getting their responses, seeing if they really bought into it, if they could be passionate about it, what they wanted to be part of, was really important. And I think also just redefining who we want to work with, not just who we want to employ and who our values are, but who do we actually want to work with, and then targeting those businesses. And this year we've onboarded 6 new clients already. All of them meet our criteria. Now, if I hadn't gone through that process, we wouldn't have actively sought those businesses that met that criteria. So I think
Yeah.
it was really redefining who we are, who do we want to work with, and who do we want to work with? You know, who do we want to be part of that team? So it was a complete overhaul of everything that made up Nutcracker, and I'm really proud of how hard everyone at Nutcracker worked in the back end of last year to kind of really drive forwards this reinvigorated passion for the business and the next stage of growth. So yeah, it was a really transformative year for Nutcracker.
What was the biggest change? I guess you weren't. Is it more like internal structures and, like you said, recruitment processes and stuff?
I think the biggest change was probably really growing up and losing that feeling of a startup or a new business and actually celebrating the strengths of Nutcracker, but also actually recognizing how where it needs to go and how to break that down into smaller, manageable chunks.
Right.
So I'd say actually having that tangible plan was probably the biggest change.
It's very hard to look past 6 months, never mind 3 years, when you're
Yeah,
in the business, especially if you go
yeah,
through like a tough period,
yeah,
and you're just thinking, how do I get out of this?
yeah.
So yeah, it's hard to sort of look at a longer time horizon than next week for a
It's
business
really
owner.
hard, and I think that's where you need people that are really tough with you. And I think the Cranfield team have spent, I should know this, have been doing this program for a really, really long time. But you've got a team of experts that are really putting you through your paces and kind of questioning you, pushing you, and really making you evaluate where you are and where you want to go. So I certainly couldn't have come out with a 3 year plan on my own. You know, I
Yeah,
had to really go through that process to kind of work out why is Nutcracker amazing, you know, and then really be able to put that under the spotlight and why is it different? Because it is really quite different to other agencies, and I think being able to verbalise that meant that it wasn't just me as a business owner kind of going, oh yeah, it's different. Like all us parents think our kids are going to win Nobel Peace Prize. Like it was actual factual and kind of like it really is different because of this reason, which felt really good.
what has come out of that process then? What does the next 3 years or even longer look like, do you think?
Yeah, so I think everyone, you know, bats around the BHAG, you know, and then says with real kind of relish this big hairy goal. It's getting a little bit old hat now, so I think people have got to stop announcing it like it's a trumpet around the BHAG. But I always struggled with what that big hairy audacious goal was because if it was just turnover, for me personally, I wouldn't be that excited because I can't describe it to you. It just wouldn't be like, yeah, we're going to do this. Of course, turnover is part of the plan and profit. But for me, it was really about excellence. So one of the reasons why I get out of bed is to produce genuinely excellent marketing for our clients and make a difference. So part of the 3 year plan, we've always won lots of awards, but we've got very, very sloppy at proactively entering awards. So, you know, I genuinely want to enter some really meaningful awards with all the brilliant work we do with our incredible clients, actually showcase that work and really demonstrate how good what we do is. So I think that excellence is a really core part of the plan, but being able to demonstrate it. Because we do get some amazing results, but we kind of hide it and keep it to ourselves. So I think making that more visual is going to be really important. You know, we do really well from a turnover perspective, but I want to triple the turnover. We've got a team of about 20 at the moment. So I want to get to 35, 50. You know, we've got some pretty ambitious KPIs in there from a financial perspective, but also really working on our profit. So and I'm sure this will resonate with your readers, pricing was a bit of a pain point, really looking at it and seeing that we haven't put our prices up for a number of years. In fact, for your listeners, if you want to work with Nutcracker, get in quite quick because really rubbish pricing. But yeah, so I think, you know, just really looking at our pricing and where we need to be as part of that plan. So we're really valuing what we do. Nutcracker overserviced a horrible amount last financial year, just because we care so much. So I think it's keeping that real sense of care, delivering those results to our clients, but actually remembering that Nutcracker is a business as well. I think that's going to be a really key component of 3 years.
Yeah, and I think that will resonate a lot with a lot of people. The pricing
Oh,
in
honestly, it's ridiculous.
and not just pricing, but then going like out of scope. And you do want to be that like a really good partner to companies, and you want to go above and beyond. But you have got to, and I've learned this myself. You've got to learn how far to take it before you should pay. You should pay extra for that as well.
Well, I think also I've come to realise that people don't really appreciate it if it's free. You know, so I'm the worst for it. And you know, it's much better for my team now. I don't do this role, but I would sit with somebody, like, oh, we could do this, isn't this? And then I'll go back to the team and be like, right, let's try it. And they're looking at me going, but they're only paying.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it'd be brilliant for them. You know, so I think it's about getting that mix of putting packages in place that suit budgets that can still have an impact, but also coming with ideas and then having the time to execute them properly and work with businesses that value that time and will invest the budget to make sure that time is there to execute them properly. But yeah,
yeah,
I think pricing is a big problem for so many businesses because
yeah,
we're too busy running the business. You know, it's crazy the stuff that you don't spend the time on.
Is the growth of tripling your revenue? That's the 3 years, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you
Well, it's a bit more
have?
than tripling. It's a bit more than that actually.
Okay,
Quite a bit more than that.
good,
Yeah.
good.
Mm.
Are you going to add more channels to like your how you get clients? You know, you mentioned your network referrals and email marketing. What are the plans
Yeah, so we
behind
do
that?
use more channels for our marketing, but that was in terms of what's generated us
Yeah,
the leads. But yeah, certainly, I think it's really about us mapping out more fully what this client looks like, and an ideal client for Nutcracker is someone that genuinely has a good product or service to sell. We're really passionate about what we do, and actually, we only want to represent really credible businesses. So in terms of what we do to market Nutcracker, we're obviously visual on social media. We do wider forms of marketing. But yeah, it's certainly sharpening what we're doing. But I think part of it was really identifying who our core target person was who wanted to work with in the first place. And that comes back into that ambitious business, someone who is genuinely ambitious, who has a good product or service to sell. That can be someone that's established. It can be, well, it has to be someone relatively established. We do work with smaller businesses, but we find that, to be able to do the real magic campaigns, you do need some budget to create some proper storytelling. Albeit we've still got legacy clients that are quite small, and we do enjoy working with them. I think it's always exciting. Like I had a new business call on Thursday last week with a potential client who's number one globally in their sector, there's 1,000 employees, but they've got a real problem with their storytelling. That's a challenge I love, because of course we will have a big impact on the inbound leads from telling their story in the right way and getting in front of their prospects in the right way, and then putting that strategy in place. It was lacking a strategy. So I think I love working with people who we can get really excited by their journey. And I think part of how we're going to go to market over the next 3 years to fulfil that turnover ambition is really making sure that our own strategy is joined up to target those people with the right messaging and reach them in the right way. So we've got to kind of walk the walk and walk the talk and practice what we preach in order to achieve those numbers, and not forget ourselves, which often happens. You do it brilliantly for everyone else and less brilliantly for yourself. So I think our own execution is going to be really critical to achieving those goals.
no. So that's a big thing on like the content side of things that we're doing now for clients is if your target market is business owners, then you have to be authentic and real about what you're actually doing. Like if things are going wrong, tell them
I
that
think
things are going
so.
wrong.
I think so. I mean, I think also, like, I think with Nutcracker last year, it wasn't like things were going wrong. Obviously, it's just I could feel the change. Like I could just see,
Yeah,
and some of that was my decision. Like I was pulled into a really intensive project. I should never have been pulled into it because my eye was then off of Nutcracker. Like I can look back now and realise how everything came to head the way it did. But hindsight's a bitch, isn't it, as they say?
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, we don't all have the luxury of hindsight when we're living through it. I think that's another
No.
thing that people forget. I know we're off piece now. You're asking me a question, but just as we're chatting, I think that's another thing that people forget, that people expect the owner of a business to be perfect, not put a foot wrong, always have perfect reactions, and,
Yeah,
and be somehow not human like everybody else. And while I think we need to hold ourselves to account and have a high standard of our conduct, of course I do, we've got a lot of responsibility to create an environment people feel secure and want to work. I also think there should be more flexibility to see people as human beings. And like you said, when you said people aren't always honest, what's so wrong with not being perfect? Like no one's perfect, and I
yeah,
find that just quite frustrating as a I think one thing I know you need to ask me a proper formal question, but I think one of the things that doesn't help, I think, is keyboard warriors. There's so many people that are facelessly trying to destroy people online. It's made people feel really scared of having an opinion or having a
yeah,
voice, because people can do so much damage without being called into touch, where they can just make a statement that can feel real, even whether it is or it isn't. And I think that's making it feel less authentic now, because I think people are scared to have an opinion in case they're ripped to pieces.
yeah, yeah. Then that's the number one like pushback we get of you should be putting content out there and putting yourself out there as a founder. People just think that they're gonna look stupid. Or one of them, one client actually said, "But people already know this stuff." I'm like, no, they don't. Nobody
Yeah.
knows.
It's like strategy so logical to
Yeah,
me, and so many people. I'll sit with these incredible businesses, and I can just see they haven't got a strategy. Yeah, I completely get it. I do think, I think that's one of the reasons why Nutcracker always grew though. Like, it is easier for me because I'm a commercial person. Like, I get it.
Yeah,
Whereas I think if you've started a business and you're an engineer or you're a manufacturer, or you don't have that commercial knowledge to hand, it's tougher. I think that's way tougher.
yeah. Jenny, was actually really refreshing for us to have this conversation. It's been very honest, and you've shared a lot with us. If people do like the sound of you and want to buy from you and want to hear more from you, where can they find you?
Well, the good news is that I haven't got a very common second name, so it's fairly easy to track me down. It's Jenny Knighting with a K on LinkedIn, or if you go to www.nutcrackeragency.com, you'll see easy contact us form, or it's jenny.knighting@nutcrackeragency.com for my email. But yeah, no, I guess what I would say to anyone listening is what I love talking to is real authentic conversations and really finding out where someone is having barriers and then having a proper conversation around how to overcome them. That's what I get really excited by, and that's where the magic often happens for our clients and growth becomes unlocked. I could have given you some brilliant case studies, actually. I should have done, Tom, but yeah, that's where you can find me.
Yeah, we'll do the case studies next time, and we'll also check in on your 3-year plan and how you're going up against it.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tom.